had a business idea, and while they worked extra hard to realize it, they also got that much needed push from the IIT Incubator, Sign. We have with us former IITians who have a thriving business now, and this is thanks to the incubator. So let's find out just how this works. So ma'am, can you tell me a little bit about how the IIT Incubator works in Bombay?
So incubator is essentially a support system that helps startup coming out of IIT Bombay. This is essentially I'm talking about Sign. What we do is that we have physical infrastructure that we give to company, but more than that, they get access to business support, some funding from Sign as well as investors. So it's more of a larger ecosystem that we try to bring to the incubator level.
All right. So Ankit, you're a former IITian. So what exactly prompted you to go ahead and start your own business? What encouraged you?
Personally, I think as a kid as well, I used to have a lot of ideas, and when I came here to IIT, I thought that this is the only platform I'll get to actually implement most of those ideas. And while having that thought, we actually went ahead and implemented a lot of original ideas, participated in a lot of competitions, did a lot of tech when we were at IIT, and not just related to academics but outside academics, most of it in fact. And because of that, when we realize that what are the other options that we have in front of us when we are getting out there in the real world and trying to look for opportunities to seek a vent to this energy that we had in us, we realize that there's nothing that's immediately going to help us satisfy what we want to do with our careers and our lives. And what we wanted to do as a team, especially my team, was that we wanted to create products. We had done technology. We realized that we can do only technology up to 90-95%. Moment it goes in somebody else's hands, it all breaks down. Nothing functions for more than 2 or 3 times, and then you have to repair it and get back. So there was this real craving in us that can we actually create something that we can give in somebody else's hand and have them work on it year on year, and then being able to extract value out of it. So I think that was one of the reasons why we wanted to start. The other reason is that we had a team. We actually had a bunch of people who were really excited about technology. They had a lot of proven capability as well, at least on the technology side, not on the product development side. So it's always a decision between a bird in hand is worth 2 in the bush. So we decided that maybe that's the best thing to do, to start up on our own.
All right. So what about you? Did you also work like that? You had a team, and then you had to figure out, and then you got the little bit of help that you needed from the incubator, and went ahead with your business?
So for us, it started with a social problem that we identified. So I didn't have it in my mind that I want to start up a company, that it's very intrinsic about us. But we are into making low-cost sanitary napkins, and we saw that 2 years ago we came to know that the condition of women in this country is deplorable when it comes to menstrual hygiene, and 70% of women in this country have some kind of reproductive tract infection. And being a woman, I felt so ashamed that this never crossed my mind, so we should be doing something about it. And that is when we started building the idea and build the capability together to make a machine to be able to produce such pads. So it was the other way around.
All right. So what about you? Was your story pretty much similar? How did you stumble upon the idea that you started?
Well, I had the opportunity of working in a couple of startups before this, wherein I realized that there's like a lot of scope. Basically, we are targeting energy management systems in our startup. And I realized that there's too much scope and there's too much potential in the market. And that's how I approached Sign, and we got together a team now, which is working in the energy management system domain.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about, a day in the IIT Incubator.
I mean, it's like any other day. When you are there doing a startup, it's exciting day by day. But I think what makes the incubator really nice is you have another 10-12 startups around you who are doing path-breaking stuff around. So it's quite exciting, it's quite motivating, particularly early on when you're a small team and everything is that much more harder. You have a much larger support system to back you up.
Okay. So do you agree with him? You need that support system?
Definitely, we've had so many times when we had a small little issue that we couldn't figure out, and we knew that next door there is a startup which is probably 6 months or 1 year has a head start and can help us out with that small little thing. And we faced this time and again in our stint of 8 months at IIT Incubation, and I think that's very much helpful. Also, the mentors who are sitting at the Sign office, anytime we have a strategy struggle, we know that we can run to Poini ma'am and she will solve it for us, or at least give us some heads up into how to look into the problem.
Okay. So Toshendra, what are the advantages of being a part of an incubator?
The biggest part is the, like, for the first time entrepreneur, is the mentorship and the guidance that we can get. So whenever we have a problem, we can directly go to their office, then knock the door and then directly talk, so without any problem. And they also helped us in, you know, reaching out to the industry mentors and guide, which are not at all approachable by us individually, but Sign has helped us to reaching out to such people. And you know, the frequent reporting to the Sign, it help us in, you know, structuring yourself or financials in a proper way. And for the first time entrepreneur, it's a very important to have such guide and mentor in a very close proximity, where we can directly approach whenever we want, rather than you know, calling someone and scheduling a meeting. So that's the biggest help that we can get.
Do you want to add something to that? Anything else do you think that's worked out for you?
Us being a technology-based startup, since we are designing machines, it's very helpful that we can knock on the professor's door very easily. So it's very quick, and we find very good solutions very fast. And since there are a lot of startups which are at the same stage and go through the same struggle, it's a lot of support that we get, which I think someone else has also mentioned.
Okay, so apart from funding, there is also networking. Do you think that's also a big advantage?
Yeah, it all depends on what sort of startups are incubated in Sign. But adding to their points, I would say infrastructure is one key aspect where here what we do in Sign is we have meeting rooms which are common to everyone. So being in Mumbai, real estate being such a big problem, we learn to share. And adding to what they had is more things like legal terms, how to read a contract, all of that actually the Sign actually helps us in that. So we are not experienced, we've just come in, but they help us in all these technical aspects and legal aspects as well.
Alright. So we touched upon the advantages. Now what about the disadvantages? What do you think are the disadvantages of being part of an incubator?
I guess you get comfortable too early. That's something that one needs to be careful about. So whatever plays as an advantage, actually, you know, equally well can be a disadvantage. The brand backing of the IIT may give you some comfort level initially, which you may not want to reside and settle in. You possibly get exposed to the real world a little later. You know, so it works both ways, but I would say the pluses are more than the minuses. I would say the minus could be a sort of false comfort that you build in, given that you have, you know, sort of legitimizing support from the IIT. It doesn't mean that you're going to be a successful business, you know. So that could be one negative possibly.
All right. So he spoke about the negatives of it. Now the brand name being one such thing, it gives you an advantage initially, but you also take it for granted. Do you agree with that?
So we have just recently started, so we are just capitalizing.
Get to realize.
We are capitalizing on the brand value now. So maybe after 3 years, we'll see how comfortable we got with it. But right now, it's working out really well for us.
So how long has your startup been around? Would you want to answer this question?
We have been an education startup in IIT for about 8 months now, and for us it works brilliantly, given that we interact with colleges and companies. The IIT incubation is something that helps people take us seriously early on, given that we are still young, and also the credibility that IIT is backing the idea is something that helps people believe in us very strongly. Like there are times when we meet college principals, and when we say that, you know, we are at Sign Incubated, they usually know about science so well enough that you don't really have to sell your idea too much. They quickly catch on, and then you get comfortable. So that is something that has worked brilliantly for us.
Okay. That's a big advantage. So, like from the impression that I got here, it's more of an accelerator than an incubator. How does that work? How does the ratio work?
Actually, it's an incubator because we deal with companies at a very, very early stage. But in the process, we also get some ideas or team who is pretty mature. So in that sense, we are incubator. Our support is for 3 years. So typically, company can be here for 3 years, and then after that, they have to graduate. And 3 years is also good enough to figure out whether you are there or you are not there.
Okay, my next question is to you. How different do you think Indian incubators are in comparison to the ones abroad?
Okay, I think you need to take a step back. See, the world over, the really good quality academic institutions want to reach out in some way to the outside world to make products and services happen. New, fresh ideas coming out into the open. And incubators essentially everywhere. One view of their being is that they are a via media for this to happen. Okay, and not the only via media. Now, if you take this sort of broad view, and it's pretty much only that, the nature of what the incubator actually turns out to be evolves given the state of the economy that is immediately around, and given the state of maturity of ventures in general coming out of such institutions. So one would think, for example, the US system has a far deeper venture ecosystem, far deeper venture ecosystem than in India, and therefore the nature of participation of sort of catalysts, incubators being one of them, tends to be more specialized. Okay, whereas here the incubator ecosystem itself is new. They themselves are a new idea, fairly new, and therefore they are little more generalists. Okay, I would say that is a sort of a broad way of separating it out. So when you say specialists, you would probably have specific support structures far better developed in ecosystems where there is deeper venture penetration. Whereas here you would want the idea of incubation, the idea of promoting entrepreneurship around technical universities, etc., that to seep in first before you get into providing specific support structures to entrepreneurs. So I would think this is sort of the broad difference between areas where the venture ecosystem is far well developed versus countries like India, where it's growing, but it's still a ways to go before you get there.
So coming to a more micro level, we have seen the number of startups that Bangalore and Delhi has seen, for that matter, is much more than the ones which Bombay has seen. Why do you think this is the case in India's financial capital?
I think I can only guess and hazard on some of the answers on this, but I feel that in general Mumbai is a very expensive place to live in. Real estate is a huge premium here, and all the other costs as well mount up quite a bit. So if you want to really bootstrap in the initial days, it may be a very tough place to actually be able to bootstrap your operations from, and that's where incubators like Sign may really come and help out startups, because then we get the real estate at a reasonable price, at least initially, till we don't have any business and we're just bootstrapping and maybe fresh out of college.
True. So one new trend that's coming up is co-working space. Now, just so that, like the way he said, well, properties at a premium in Mumbai. So just to save that extra space, you have new startups coming up under one roof, and so that they have more space for everything. Do you think that works? Do you think that's a good idea?
So I think co-working space is good, but it depends upon the companies to company. If some company is having some research-based development which needs some privacy, so I think that is not a good idea for the co-working space. But if a company is building a website or application which only needs some based, common development or coding, then that would be easy for that company. So privacy is the only concern which companies has in co-working space. Otherwise, this is the best to have a network and meet more people. A person sitting next to you is from some another company. So this is a good thing, because sometimes you get some motivation and some energy,
That
and
extra bit of advice.
Yes. So these things actually help us in engaging in your company more.
True.
So that's the difference, I think.
But personally, would you go for it?
Oh no, never.
No?
I'll not.
So privacy is more important for you.
Yeah. So because our idea is based on the research and development, not only development. So that's why I'll not choose co-working space.
So would anyone go for co-working space? None of you all think it's a good idea? You would? But why?
I mean, co-working spaces make sense for some things, might not make sense for everything else. I think they're a very good expansion too. If we have a core office in Bombay where we're building a core team, but we want to expand to other cities and we don't have the funds to set up those offices today, we would opt for co-working spaces for those ancillaries.